Anyway, after that, I got restless after the old man left. I wanted to go to school and I didn't want to. And finally, one day I got on my horse and I rode up to the top of the mountain. I thought I'd look around and got up there and sitting down the road to smoke right about where Ragtown is now. And I looked across the river. I seen them Judith Mountains and looked over towards Three Buttes and that way. And down here come Charlie Chamberlain, and he's a distant cousin of mine, second cousin, I guess it is. And he just went down, I started talking to him right away, and he said, I just sold my freight outfit. He had a 12-horse team freight outfit and 2 wagons and stuff. And he said, I just sold them, and I think I'll pull out. He said, I'm going to head for Washington. He says, you better go the other way. He said, you'll never make nothing here. He said, if you're here for the next 50 years, he said, you'll be still the same kid and you'll never have nothing. He said, it ain't like, you can't get out here and get a job. You can't make a dime. All you can do is maybe have a good saddle horse, and that's about all. And anyway, he pulled out. I bid him goodbye. He went the other way, and I went down the river. I headed for the river. Well, to make this story a little longer, it is kind of funny. I shouldn't tell it because there's one party still alive, and there's a couple of guys, I won't mention their names now. They come there with a painted horse and a brand new saddle, and they caught up to me. In fact, I was going down the hill, riding kind of slow and looking over towards Black Buttes, just undecided whether to go down to the river and cross and go to work for my brother-in-law, because I got a letter from my sister that he had 600-700 head of horses and he wanted somebody to ride some colts. And I was just about right to. I was riding a few colts then. I could ride pretty good. And here was these 2 boys come there with this painted horse and brand new saddle, and they wanted me to take it down to the saloon and soak it for them. So I told them I would, and I took this painted horse and went on down, and Tommy Dorr had a saloon there, right back of old Frank Chamberlain's. He was my uncle, that is, a distant relative, And Tommy Dorr asked me how much I want for that saddle now. I told him I wanted a jug of whiskey and a quart. So, hell, he gave me the whiskey right now and told me to take the saddle off and leave it there. So I took this whiskey and stuff up and to the boys, and of course they started drinking right away, but I hid this quart in my saddle pockets. I wanted to have to get it down the river. I'd see old Gregory and them. I knew they'd like a little drink, and old Joe. And so they wanted me to take that horse down and soak him. Not down, I wouldn't take no chances. Bad enough, I knew that saddle the minute I saw it. It belonged to old Fork down there at Hayes. And I think it's the same house he's living in right here. I think this is the same house old Fork lived in. I'm sitting in here at the agency right now. And I think it's the same house. And I was walking around the barn, and I know Powderface was there. He happened to be chief of police, and this other guy was a police too, this old Fork. And I recognized the saddle right away, and when they brought it down on that painted horse, I knew it right away too. I knew then that it was stolen, But they got what they wanted, and they come down Mission Canyon. They had a fight, and one of them down there killed the other one, put him in the hospital. I guess they told where they got the liquor all right. They kept them tied up until they told. And then I got a letter from Baptist Roundhead. He says, you stay out of this reservation. He said, they sure laying for you. So I didn't come back then. I stayed away. I had to. Had to give me 30 days, for giving them guys whiskey. I didn't like them 30 days very well. Well, anyway, I went to work for my brother-in-law, and I stayed there 5 or 6 years, I guess, taking horses to town and getting rid of them, and come and get some more. Breaking $5 a head was all I was getting. Now you get $100 for breaking it. Common cayuse. Them days is $5 a head. But I done pretty good. That is whenever I get a hold of the money. My mother didn't come along and take it away. Well, then after that, why, I come back down the river and stayed there a while, and then pulled out for the Bear Paw Mountains. And I went to work for a cow outfit up there, a cowman. Worked with him, and worked with Jim Spencer too, all mixed up. Had to keep the bulls separate, and oh gosh, it kept me busy all the time. Had a bunch of old rotten spoiled horses, and try to work with them, and they try to buck you off, and I had a rough time there. And mostly no saddle horses, that's all. And sometime in the morning I'd get one that'd start bucking with me, and then I'd run him all day to take some of that wild soup out of him. They were all ridge runners anyway. No good. Well, one of the best horses I had was a horse they called Set 'em High, Jake Running Crow and John Damon, and a bunch of them bronco fighters used to practice on. That's the kind of a gentle horse I had to wrangle with. He showed me one morning, Jim Spencer was going to gather all of Mac Adams. They were going to gather the steers and shit and take them down to Harlem. So this morning, God darn it, was cold, and Spencer told me, he says, you have the horses in the corral about daybreak. He says, I'll bring the wagon down, and don't eat breakfast till we get down there. So that morning I noticed, I went out and saw the horse standing there, and he was just shivering, and like a darn fool. Instead of kind of warming him up, I saddled him up and got right on and started off on a high trot, and God darn, when he went to break into a lope, he just bogged his head, and God darn, I could hear my neck pop. He didn't buck me off, but I got a hold of one line, and I spun him till I got him out of the notion of bucking with me. And I was, a month and a half getting over that darn partly broken neck. And the back of my neck is still crooked on account of that. And then another time after that I got hurt darn bad too. Anyway, I don't know what the heck we took the cattle down to Harlem and loaded up and shipped, and I come back and we gathered the rest of the cattle, took them up the mountain, getting ready for winter. And so we had Mac Adams bought an Empire Land Cattle Company. They had some holdings in Chinook there. The main part was right below town there where the sugar beet factory was. That's where the buildings were. He had a great big 50-mile square pasture there. He had some horses in there, a hell of a bunch. I was supposed to went down and help, Willie, they call him, break some colts. They call colts, 5, 6-year-old, they're pretty hard to handle then. That's a man's job. Anyway, we broke 4 or 5 of them. Broke them to ride, but he was about half a broke. He got too cold, got about 37 below one day, and I didn't have no overshoes or nothing. I just used to wear heavy wool socks on top of my boots and spurs on top of that, and I tell you, it got pretty cold on the feet. Well, I decided no more cowboy life for me that winter. So I pulled out and went and stayed down the river all that winter. And I don't know, from there on, where the heck was back up to Bear Paws, and I rode from all the Bear Paws clean to the mouth, to the foothills of the Little Rockies, in the reservation, and now gathering cattle, putting them where they belong, fixing fence every now and then. I used to stay with Matador, had a camp there on Running Crow Coulee, and old Ike Kello and Davy Mills were both there, two old cowpunchers from Texas, and I used to go and stay with them. We just had a little interruption there. I guess we got her straightened out now. I was going to tell about that when the mountains are on fire here. Oh, that was quite a chore. We fought fire there for 10 days about to start with. I and my oldest boy, Jim, he's pretty young yet, but we went up there and done the best we could, you know. And we just got the fire where we thought it was under control. We went back down to the ranch to go back to work and for a change, you know. Kind of tough staying up there in that mountain, no bed and darn thing. We had to stay pretty close to a little fire to keep warm all night. And they fed us pork and beans for breakfast, pork and beans for dinner, and pork and beans for supper. I'll tell you, that is some food. I can still taste them. And that's been a long time ago. Anyway, we were in having dinner one day, and just about a week after we thought everything was under control. And fire was getting pretty well under control. God darn if they didn't. Some darn fool was smoking a cigarette, and he had a bunch of oat straw he used for a mattress, you know, that just loose that way, and he had his bed on top, and he threw the cigarette down on the dinner call and walked out. And while he was out eating dinner, while his teepee caught a fire, burned everything to the ground, and started the fire going again. So Ben Phillips, he ran out and he says, fire above Landusky, boys better go on up and see if you can help up there. So we got on our horses and roped up to Landusky and sent a couple of kids back to the Morrison place where we were living to turn our horses loose or harbor them to do something. We stayed up there for 2 weeks that next time. Just pork and beans, you know, and tomatoes one day, and then pork and beans again, you know, and that was getting to be a pretty rough fare, pork and beans. And anyway, we got that pretty well under control, and the fire in the meantime was heading towards Landusky, and you know, fire will run awful fast uphill. In fact, it'll outrun you. You can't run away from a fire uphill. The steeper it is, the faster it goes, and the slower you go, of course, naturally, you know. And you always are on the run downhill. Run away from it, run downhill, and then you manage to get away if you don't smother. Anyway, we got to where it was pretty close to Landusky. In fact, everybody was ordered out of town. We pulled down there. I think Jim, he went home. He went back down to Morrison Place to rest up. I stayed up there with a bunch of hyenas like George Costella and old Benway and I don't remember. I mean, there's 3 or 4 of them old timers, some old miners, old roughnecks, and I was pretty well acquainted with them. I knew them from a long time ago. Walter Sizer was in the bunch. And anyway, we were sitting there. We had all the beer from the saloon. It was out in the middle of the street. Whiskey and everything was all out there in the middle of the street where there wasn't nothing to burn, you know. And boys would send me, because I was the smallest, I could kind of sneak around when there's nobody in sight. They would swipe a case of beer about every half hour, maybe a little longer than that. All depends on how fast we drank that case of beer. Anyway, we're sitting alongside of a little board shack there, and we're sitting there drinking beer, and I seen some sparks up on top, and I was sitting alongside of George Costello, and as I say, George, there's a big chunk of fire or a piece of wood hit the top of this shed up here. I said, I'm afraid we're going to burn out here. I said, you guys throw me up there and I'll put it out if I can. And so they grabbed a hold of me, and they could see that it was beginning to burn up there. And they threw me up there, and I undecided what the heck am I going to put it out with? And no stick or nothing. I pried a piece of board loose, and the more I monkeyed to this fire, the more it, ignited, and it was beginning to drop down off of the chimney, off the top into the floor, down in under. And George Costello, he was down there trying to tromp it out, and God darn, no water, nothing. I didn't want to take off my shirt. It was too darn cold, and how in the heck am I going to put that damn thing out? And no water? Where in the heck can I get some water or something to? Finally, I decided, how about that beer I've been drinking? By golly, I should get some water someplace. And this here, George Costello, I said, look out, George, here she comes. And nature got to calling pretty bad then, I wanted to get rid of some of this excess water, excess beer was what it was, really. George was right in under, and he got the benefit of the whole works. Yeah, I sure went to the top of him. Yeah, he looked up there and he cussed the hell out of me, and by that time I had it pretty well out, So I got off of there. They pulled me off there. And we had that big laugh over there. George, he was wet all over. And then he said, you could sure a whole lot of beer. Poor old George, he's dead now. He used to be an FBI. He hung around the mountain. Now he's around the reservations and all over. He put a nice boy there. And then, well, somebody got a brainstorm. After we got that little shed out, we were sitting around. Somebody said, how about, you say the fire runs fast uphill. Why can't we go and drop a few matches and hold it? Don't let it come down. Well, it won't come down unless, because the fire goes awful slow downhill. So we scattered along about, I'd say a quarter of a mile, or 4 or 5 of us, and dropped matches and pounded it out so it had to fire up to meet the other one, The other one was coming down off the smoke, was coming down there. And this other one just went right on up. It just blew right on up there. And hell, in no time it was blackout only for stumps and junk was burning, Well, we had that under control. And we went on up to Rock Creek then, and we done some more dirty work up there. We done something that was worth something. Saved the town anyway. Old Burl Booth, God darn him, he had a dandy outfit there and a lot of machinery and stuff, mining outfit, And he said, let's go up and backfire my house up here. He says, we can watch it for a while, and after she gets quieting down here, we can come back. Well, we backfired, the fire was gone up the mountain. And everything looked pretty good, but we'd never thought of this gosh darn fir, That fir would throw a limb or anything. It would throw it half a mile, and start another fire. Well, that's what happened to him. A bunch of bark, I think it was, flew off of a tree and lit on top of his house. And we weren't there to put it out. Well, he lost everything he had there. Lost house, everything he had. We were downtown, then we went back up to kind of investigate, and heck, he didn't have nothing. Well, that's that. Now, that furs, that's the son of a gun. And that's what they talk about. They thought there was a bunch of guys starting fires up there. It wasn't nothing but that fur popping. It popped for 200-300 yards sometime and start, grass fires, timber fires, or anything. But the next morning we went down, we hit that top of that Damon Hill, went down in somebody's car and through the Mission Canyon, and the time we got out of the mouth of the canyon, we were just about choked to death. But there happened to be a fire camp there. There was a doctor there with a pump. He pumped the smoke out of our lungs and give us breakfast and send us on. We went on around the mountain back to Landusky. I think that's when I quit the fire business. That is, I thought I did. Next morning we went to work, same as usual, irrigating. And there was a guy by the name of Brockner. He was there surveying ditches, and I was kind of helping him along. That is, holding a stake for him, and sometimes stepping it off. And he was my surveyor and working for Phillips. And he got a call. No, the fire started down at Lodgepole, and it started working up towards the top of the mountain. And these guys, they took off from Landusky, a bunch of them, and this Brockner left the ranch and headed for the top of the mountain over there. He was going to stop and try to head that fire off. And so I and Fred Major got in the car and we drove up there. We got up on top of the hill and stopped just a minute, and I heard some screaming up there, and I said, "Hey Fred, there's a couple of mountain lion down here." I said, "It sure sounds like it." And here it was John Rolls and this here Brockner. It was really John Rolls doing the screaming, and I think it was Otis Pewitt too, because he got caught in it. Well, in fact, his clothes all burned off of him in the back. His back was cracked open so you could see his kidneys. He was in pretty much pain, but he outrun it. He made it to a cave there that Phillips boys and a bunch of them were in. So he crowded in there and got out of that crown fire. Well, when we went down, I and Fred walked down a ways and we seen this big black pile of meat. That was John Rolls. But this Brockner, they had him on a saddle horse. He come there, he didn't have a hair on his head, not a stitch of clothes on, and his hands were just like claws. They're hanging onto the swell of the saddle. He was sitting there and smiling. And what that man was going through, I don't know. In fact, he died on his way to the down here agency. They're bringing him down here. He died on his way down here. Well, we stayed there that afternoon. I think Frank Overking was the boss, and after he come down and inspected the work, or you see where we had everything thrown away and everything was clear, he says, "Boys can go down to camp and have supper and wait around there. You can go to work after a while, maybe, if you want to." So we came back and got in the car, and Major hit for Landusky. Well, I got on my saddle horse. I'd left him down at the old power plant there in the shed. Got on him and loped up to the Gill Ranch, and I wanted to know about this here Brockner. So I went up to Benny's and I rapped on the door and told him to come in. And, "Well, how was the fire?" I said, "They got it pretty well under control where we were." I said, "The fire boss said we could come home. They think they got enough help to hang on to it." And I said, "How's Brockner?" He said, Brockner? I said, yes. He said, what happened to him? I said, I think he burned to death, I said, or he was still alive last I saw him, but he was heading for the agency. We never heard. He says, heck, that's the first week you heard of anything about it. I said, John Rhodes is just a big black chunk of meat. I said, he barbecued and they loaded him in and took him to Malta. That's what there's left of him. And we heard them, but pretty long after that, here come a car and they had this Brockner already dead and they're going to get him to Malta as quick as they could. And when they could bury him. But he was, oh my goodness. What that man was through, I don't know. And he had that, it couldn't have been a smile, it must have been a grin. Because it just, face all drawn up. Looked like he was smiling. I never want to see him again. That was terrible. Well, that was the end of the fire for us. We didn't go fighting fire no more. Then we had to start in, and the Mormon crickets had cleaned up the whole country, every spear of grass there was, brush and everything with fence posts, I guess. So we had to started the cattle out, headed for Dodson to ship them to Spokane, got them shipped and come back and got the horses and took them down to the home ranch because they had some feed down there, a lot of old haystacks. They could throw them extra horses down there and they could winter all right. We got through with that, and then they took the sheep. They took 4,700 head, that bunch they had me looking after that fall. I went down to Dodson with them and loaded them up and took them to Turtle Mountain. We unloaded there at a little town called Rolette. So I stayed there till late that fall, till, in fact, the 1st of October. Walter Phillips come, and he says, you count these sheep out in the morning and find out how many you lost. And he says, we'll start them out and hit for Towner. It's 85 miles down from Rolette to Towner, straight across country. And you see, he'd had a pilot there, and they camped in there and everything. It knew the road, knew the way. So next morning I counted them out through I had a kind of a place there where they loaded sheep and stuff and that. I just had the dogs working these sheep into this corral, and as they went out, I counted them out. I counted right down to the last lamb I had there, 4,747. I never lost a darn one. And I didn't want Walter to think that I was really kind of rubbing it into him, And I said, you want to count them over? Walter, I said, here's your chance. And I said, we got this corral here, and I can run them through with the dogs because they're pretty smart. And he said, no, he says, your word's good enough. So we went, and it took us 5 or 6 days to get down to Towner. Then the Mouse River started coming up then. And in fact, it got over the banks. But I didn't stay long enough. I stayed there to help him build a winter shed. And then I took for home then. Couldn't stand it no longer. He wouldn't let me go. He said, heck, you can't leave us in this shape. And I said, heck.
Just try it again. Where you left out there.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want to quit for a while?
Yeah.
Okay, let's quit for a while. I'll run this back.